morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Dipesh, and welcome to our Open Up Live talk show. I'm the social media coordinator of Voice of Men 360, and we are here to present our show. Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 and is based in Toronto, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to provide services and to help support and overcome the challenges in the lives of our men and boys in our community. We are part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years so far in 90 countries around the world, joined together for various activities. International Men's Day follows six pillars, which is the overall well-being of boys and men. We follow in the same footsteps as International Men's Day. Now you would say, why open up? Because men do not open their hearts and are willing to share their matters with anyone. When we keep our emotional challenges within ourselves for a long time, at some point they do explode and affect our health conditions in many ways. That's why we want to create an open space and allow an individual to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness about the life challenges, struggles, and overcome ups and downs that our boys and men face in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups in sharing our life journey. All walks of life can participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we bring an individual to each show and let them share their life experiences with you. Before I introduce our special guest for today, I would like to go through our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith and toward peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing any medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend that you contact a medical professional. If you have questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. Today's speaker is Mike Cotayo. Mike is a stand-up comedian who has won various awards and produced various shows in the stand-up comedy world. In 2017, Mike was awarded Top Comedian in the Philadelphia Pride Comedy Festival. Mike gained a significant following after appearing on XM's The Opie and Anthony Show. Mike has opened for the late and great comedians Ralphie May and Patrice O'Neal after meeting them on Opie and Anthony while promoting the Short Buzz Comedy Tour. Mike is currently producing the first ever all disabled comedy festival, um, the Stand Up If You Can Comedy Festival. Welcome, Mike, to the Open Up Show, and thank you for joining us and willing to share your life journey.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. How are you? Good
I'm good,
morning.
man. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm waking up.
Yeah, yeah, same
So
here. At least the weather's good here in Toronto. So
I'm sorry for being late. I was having a hard time finding the StreamYard link.
no, all
So
good, all good. Yeah, we were on time, so everything's good. So yeah, man. Just to get started, what would you say got into the stand-up comedy world, as well as the
um
work you're doing now?
I always loved stand up as a kid and it's only me. I've always loved stand up as a kid and when I was a growing up, I used to watch Amateur Night at the Showtime at the Apollo on TV, and I was like, I'm going to do that one day. And then when I was 24, I performed for Amateur Night at the Apollo, not the live version,
Mhm.
but the not the televised version, but the live version. And I won. So after that, I thought, you know what, I could do this. And I started to in 2002, I started pursuing comedy like a career, and then got a career, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And in 2007, I started to get a lot of success, and I started to have panic attacks before I went on stage.
Oh, wow.
So I left stand up for the career and shifted to doing psychotherapy for people, and then in 2016 went back to stand up full force, and here we are.
That's amazing, man. And when you did stand up, did you take any like special classes? Or
uh I don't know if I took special classes. Like I took workshops sometimes. Like I read a lot of books on stand up. I immersed myself in learning the craft, and I loved it. And I actually I did a lot of self-sabotaging things. Like there was this comedy festival that used to be called the HBO Aspen Comedy Festival.
mm,
And I did this workshop where the talent booker was there giving comedians feedback on their
mm,
material. And after
mm,
everyone went up, she would say, all right, that's good. I would change this, or I would change that, or try
mm,
this differently. And like it was really valuable information. And I went up, and after my set, she said, that was incredible. That was great. I want to see more. Please send me your tape.
mm,
And like the class was people I knew from stand up, and they were like, "What?" And I had such low self esteem at the time that I'm like, I can't submit a tape. Nothing I have is good enough, and
mm,
I never followed through. And like I shot myself in the foot, and that's one of my big regrets, is that I never
mm,
kept going.
mm. Yeah, man, it's one of those things that we all go through, But that's
Right,
incredible, man. Um,
right.
and so, as you know, that Voice of Men 360 is based on helping boys and men in their upbringing. Would you say that your relationship with your father has had a big impact on things you're doing today, or like in like pop any like positive male role models? Or I guess
Yeah,
that's the next question, but yeah.
you know, growing up, I was a mama's boy, but
Hmm.
but like my dad was one of he was like really level-headed and really gave good advice. I remember being a teenager, like 12, 13 years old, and him, like we were in the car together, and he was gonna take me somewhere. And before we left, he goes, okay, I gotta talk to you about something. You're hitting puberty now, and you're starting to smell really bad.
Hmm.
And so he sort of walked me through needing to shower every day and needing to take care of myself. And like I have a physical disability, and I remember growing up, like I never learned to ride a bike, but he would put me on the bike and travel behind me and hold the bike and then let it go, and I'd
Hmm.
inevitably fall on the ground.
Hmm.
And that poor man like rode behind me so many times,
Hmm.
and I could not learn to ride a bike for my life, but he
Hmm.
kept on trying. He's a
Hmm.
good man. He's a really good man, my dad.
That's awesome, man. And I think that's what's lacking a lot of times in the world we're growing up today is like that kind of, relationship because,
Hmm.
as I think as fathers, the role is for men to, push their child into, a lot of, challenges, right? And I was
Yeah.
reading a lot about like male initiation, like a lot of boys, when they grow up and that transition from being a boy to being a man. I think in a lot of times that push is missing. Push into like not like you mentioned like bike riding as a challenge, but then there's a lot of other challenges, right? Like going on into the real world, being
Hmm.
independent, being self-sufficient,
I
right?
really started to like appreciate my dad on a different level when I became an adult.
Oh, yeah.
I would call him and be like, "Look, I'm having this problem. What would you do?" Or,
Hmm.
and his advice was always invaluable to me.
Hmm.
Still is.
Yeah, yeah, and they're more experienced, so they have like a different point of view as well,
Right,
right?
right.
Now, when it comes to like other positive role models, did you have any positive role models? And also, what do you think is the importance of having that in a boy's life or a man's life?
I, I it's hard to say. Like I always had good role models, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them weren't always men, but they were
Mm-hmm.
the people who taught me to keep on showing up, to keep on doing what I'm doing. And, you know, like I come from a very sports oriented family, and I always thought I wasn't athletic. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I became an adult, I had an operation on my wrist used to hang like this. My left wrist. I
Mm-hmm.
used to call it my gay wrist. It used to hang like this, and then I in 2010, 2011, I had an operation that straightened it out.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, I was able to use it more. I was able to work out more. And this person who I thought was non athletic started boxing. I started boxing and I started lifting weights, and I became really good at that stuff. And, I genetically, I had the ability to change my body really quickly. So I'm my I had a trainer a couple of years ago who would like watched my body transform rapidly, and he was like, "Dude, you are genetically gifted." I'm like, "I wish I knew this when I was 20." Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
46, and I just learned that with just a little bit of effort, I could change my body in my 30s. And so my 20s were a wash because I didn't think a disabled person could reach the level of change that a normal person could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, only once we start like applying ourselves, I think that's when we notice a lot of changes happen. And
Right.
same thing with me. Growing up, I held myself back through like so many things,
Like
just
what?
because, like, so like one of the things is like moving out sooner. Being independent sooner,
Hmm.
right? Because it's also our culture, right? Like, ethnic cultures. A lot of times you stay back home. I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I could have moved out, maybe like launched a startup company or maybe taken some more risks. But then I followed the safe and stable, just go to school, do your career kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of
It's
times,
hard.
yeah, yeah.
It's so hard. That's why I when I quit stand up, I was trained as a social worker before I started stand up. Like
Mhm.
that's what I got my master's degree in.
Nice.
So after I left stand up, I went back to social work. I became a therapist. I did
Nice.
all of those things, and I always said if I never had that to fall back on, I probably would have gone a lot further in stand up because I wouldn't have had
Yeah,
something to be like, okay, there's a safety net here.
exactly.
And when I also got addicted to drugs and alcohol when I was in my 20s, and
Mhm.
every time I was blessed with a very loving family, and every time I needed to get sober, they didn't know I was struggling with addiction, but every time I needed to get sober, I would move back home.
Mhm.
So in my life, I think I moved back home 3 or 4 times.
Mhm.
3 times to get clean and sober. The fourth time was because the roof caved in my apartment,
Oh wow.
and so I needed to get out.
Boy.
Um,
That's awesome,
so
man. And it's awesome that you were also involved in helping other people. So, like, from therapy point of view.
yeah,
So like when it comes to like our next question, what do you think is lacking when it comes to mental health support for boys and men today?
I think it's starting to shift, but like I cry at the drop of a hat, and
Hmm.
my mother died a year ago, so every
Oh man.
like I cry constantly now.
Hmm.
Like now I'm starting to, so I'm not gonna do it. But it's one of those things, like we're taught emotions are bad. And I like when I was younger and counseling people and working with people, I noticed that as a man, I had a better ability to connect with other men in the privacy of my office and let them cry, let them experience. There wasn't this shame about being strong in front of women when we were behind closed doors. And I think that was the biggest
Hmm.
shift that I saw is I could make a difference with other men that I couldn't with in mixed company.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's how our I think it's even like all over the world, even like back home. I realized that there's this social programming, right? That as because you're a man, you're just supposed to like suck it up, just be a
Hmm.
man, and just just
Don't
suck
be a
it up.
pussy, be a man.
Exactly,
Like
exactly, right. Don't show emotions and feelings, which I think is kind of unfortunate because that's a human thing, right?
I got married during the pandemic, and so it was a small wedding with about 50 people, and I cried throughout the whole
Hmm.
service. Like I'm marrying my wife, and I'm like so emotional. And during the reception, my dad just kept on teasing me. He's like, "You made a grown man cry." I'm like, "Oh my god, dude!"
That's
So.
awesome, man. That's amazing. Yeah. Um, and going to our next question, how do you think us as like a society or just as people, how do you think we can help and support our boys and men when it comes to things like just the mental health or like in general, like what changes do you think we can make?
I really think just allowing people to have emotions, just allowing boys to be sad and not stopping that, not going, come on, what are you crying for? Which I'm guilty of. Like
Mhm.
I've said that to my daughter, I've said that to my nephews and nieces. Like what but that to me it just it seems like there was nothing to cry about, which is my judgment as an adult, right? To them it's their whole world. But so, especially with little boys and men, like we think something's wrong if we're having emotions.
Yep. And yeah, no, you're right. And also I think the way we are socialized also, right? Because a lot of times boys are like, okay, you have to go out and be this successful to chase like ambition, chase
Hmm.
competitiveness. You have to be like number one, kind of thing. But some of the other core values that are not being um, taught to our boys today is things like empathy, things like being caring and gentle, kind of thing. Like the opposite values, right? Which
I,
someone would say,
I also like, I grew up around a lot of kids. Like,
mm,
so I'm from a big family, and I've noticed this difference in little boys versus little girls. Little boys are much more emotional. They're much more like giving. They're much more wearing their heart on their sleeve, and little girls are a little more harder. And I don't know the shift. I don't know the societal shift. Like I'm thinking about that. When does that change? When do girls become more the nurturer and boys become more the aggressor? Like what happens? Because I love like hanging out with little boys because they're so much fun. They're just roll with the punches. And little girls can be mean, is what I noticed.
mm,
Not to, like, and I have a little girl, so I'm just like, ooh. I always wanted a boy though. They're
yeah,
fun.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that could happen. I don't know if it's during puberty, because that's when like a lot of changes happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I think a lot of emotional changes happen and physical changes happen. And a lot of times in our society, when boys are in that stage, or even girls in general, like we are not really given like a guideline or some kind of like guidance as to how to handle those changes.
Right.
So I think that would be beneficial. And another thing I'm thinking is like a lot of times in school, they have these health classes, right? But they
Hmm.
don't really teach you about mental health. So I think,
No, no.
and a lot of this stuff starts in adolescence, right? So I think that'd be good. I think that'd be a beneficial,
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. To
Yeah,
look at that, like, what is it about adolescence?
exactly. And what would you say like pushed you to, follow a lot of your passions? Did you have like any driving forces or motivations?
Um,
Um,
I just, I passion as far as stand up. I love hearing people laugh. I just love like making people laugh. And I come from a family where I'm not the funniest person. I just
yeah.
work at it. And so like being from a family where everybody is cracking jokes and there's so much laughter, like you love that. I love hearing laughter. It makes me feel so good inside. And I just want to keep that going as an adult. And the helping people route, like it was just something I was always good at. And I hate it now. I hate helping people. Like I hate listening to people's problems. I'm just and I think part of that is I burnt out. I don't have the capacity to be compassionate all the time anymore. And that's okay. Like we all go through those changes. If I care about you and I love you, of course I want to help you. But like it's harder when you're doing it with strangers.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean, and especially I think you kind of reached that, that level, right, where
Hmm.
you also have a lot of like of your own challenges, and you also have a lot of responsibilities, right? So, and yeah,
Right.
and I think like same here. Like I'm also very passionate about stand-up comedy, and I think, from like a mental health point of view, to say like a lot of times humor and laughter is like the best medicine,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Um,
For
and I
sure.
think, and I think Alan just commented here that boys are groomed around four to be tough and treated different from girls, deprived of the same love and affection. And yeah, same thing, right? Like even a lot of
But
the toys, right? So
yeah, but the mean girl syndrome doesn't start till like 8 or 9. And
yeah.
I have one of my nieces was the sweetest little girl. Now she's turning into a mean girl, and I do not like it. So it just and like the boys are still. Hey, Alan, thank you for the comment. Boys are still like I see the I see like the up until 8, 9, 10, like there's an innocence there in the boys that
Mhm.
I noticed. Maybe it takes 6 years to like indoctrinate them into being a dick, but you don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And going back to stand up again, Mike, what would you say that were some of the, did you face any barriers, or you had to face any barriers when you got into the stand up comedy world?
Yeah, I think, I being disabled was a huge part of it. I felt like people treated me different, and I wanted a platform to say I'm not that different, and that stand up allowed that for me.
Mhm.
And that's really what I love about the craft is I get to go on stage and turn my filter off and not worry about what I say. And like I love just talking to the crowd, and that's fun for me because I stand up comedy, like really what they teach us is to tell the same jokes over and over and make it sound like if you're really good, you make it sound like it's the first time you're telling that joke ever.
Mhm.
And I hate it. Like I hate because the same joke I told in 1973, I wasn't even born then, is the same joke I'm telling now, and you can't tell the same thing over. It gets boring to you.
Yeah, and then there's so many aspects involved, right? When it comes to stand up, it's like the tone, how you say it, the
Right,
timing. There's so many factors, right? So
right.
definitely, yeah, man. Hopefully, maybe I'll break into the stand up world someday, and I actually want to merge stand up and mental health. So I'll
Dude,
see.
you should do it. You
Yeah.
should do it.
Go to like an amateur night. Nice.
There's my friend Frank King has done that. tremendously well. Like merged talking about mental health with being funny, and
Nice.
he's so talented at it.
Nice. Sounds good, Mike. And just before we go, like, did you have any inspirational or unforgettable experiences?
I got nothing.
Oh yeah.
No, like inspirational or unforget. I mean, like the most inspirational thing I can think of is when someone is having a horrible day and I hear from them, you really help cheer me up. Thank you for that. I when in therapy, like I've learned to when I was doing therapy, I learned to crack jokes with my patients so that they would be able to laugh a little bit. And they're talking about such hard, horrible stuff that making jokes really helps them transition and be happier. Humor is a part of resiliency. That's, I think, what people don't understand. If you use humor, it helps you to be more resilient.
hmm No, that's awesome, Mike. And yeah, definitely, I can definitely agree with that. And I think in anyone's healing journey, I think humor should definitely be implemented as part of their daily, you know what I mean? Like their daily routine. And
I like the comments in the chat. They're awesome.
yeah, a lot of, things about modern society and how girls are influenced differently, right? So definitely,
Hmm.
um,
Alan Miller, you're the man.
yeah. Yeah, like the whole boys will be boys kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
awesome, awesome so much. Thank you so much for joining today, Mike, and sharing your life journey with us today.
Thank
And
you
I
for
look
having
forward,
me.
yeah, I look forward to having you again. It was awesome. It was a pleasure. And
Cool. Definitely a
thank,
pleasure.
yeah,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you. And okay, everyone, thank you for being here today. And I do have a few special announcements to share before we end our show. We have our third global observance, week-long celebration of International Men's Day, which will be from Sunday, November 13th to Saturday, November 19th. Every day we will be having 2 hours of a virtual event. It will be through Zoom, so please register to join. We are looking for speakers from all walks of life. We also want to recognize men who have been contributing to their families, communities, organizations, and society. Um, and Mike will be in our comedy show on November 19th from 11 to 12 p.m. So please nominate any further guests and let us know. And please contact us at 437 or info at voiceofmen360.org. You can find more details on our Facebook group and the page under Voice of Men 360. We also have a few live shows. So Open Up show, which is sharing of your personal life journey. Live talk show is on Sunday at 10 a.m. EST. We have Billy, which is a Tamil live talk show on Sundays at 8 a.m. EST. We have our monthly webinar, which is on first Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. EST. We bring expertise in organizations and discuss a particular topic each time. We have a monthly special show, The Unspoken Tears, which is on Saturday, second Saturday of every month from 10 to 11 a.m. EST. And the focus is on domestic violence against men, bullying, male sexual abuse, traumas, porn addictions, and human trafficking. We also have our author circle. We want to bring individuals who have been contributing to the well being of men and boys through writings, articles, and media, and recognize them and appreciate them, which is happening on third Saturday of every month from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. EST. We also have our podcast. All the shows are available on all the platforms, including iPhone, Google Play, and so on. We also have a monthly men's group meeting, which is only for men by men, which is every 2 weeks on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. through Zoom. And we also have Pastor Talking Stick, which is an indigenous peer-to-peer support group. Again, there are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life can participate in any of our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be a part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Our phone number is 437-889-8329. Our email is info@voiceofmen360.org. Our website is voiceofmen360.org. And you can find us on all social media, including Facebook, and LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Please also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. We want to reach out to more people and help more, so please continue to show your support and please continue to attend our shows. And thank you for joining us today. Thanks.